voting requirements between a specific and a general measure?
Sure.
Please?
We'll be glad to do that. So a specific revenue measure requires 2/3 voter approval. So that's 67% in order to pass. Okay. A general revenue measure, on the other hand, requires a simple majority, 50 plus 1% of the voters in order to pass.
I guess I'm next. I have a question. With Ingalls Park, I understand it's actually losing like $500,000 a year. Is that correct?
Well, again, not all government services are supposed to pay for themselves. That's why.
All right, so that one, so
me-
Ingalls is not supposed to be profitable?
It's not profitable at this point.
How many years has it been losing that much money? Do you have any idea? Has it been 2 years, 5 years?
Ingalls has not been able to generate enough revenues to pay for the expenditures of running the park. And again, keep in mind that is a community asset, is something that is built here for the purpose of the community, is not intended to pay for itself or to recover all of its costs.
So, okay, I understand. So it's losing, but it's not intended to be profitable. Why haven't we offered it to Silver Lakes to purchase, let RJ build a world-class equestrian center, and stop losing money? It'll be right here. Why can't we just sell it if it's losing every year? What's wrong with that?
Hi, Andy. I'm going to be good tonight. I have a question.
Close to your mouth. Close to your mouth. There you go. Right there.
Okay. You were talking about us sharing the burden of the, excuse me, the sales tax with visitors and things like that. Here's my concern. If we increase the sales tax, isn't it going to hurt our own businesses?
The answer is no. In fact,
Really?
yeah, there have been studies done on this, the before and after, and those studies show that increasing a given locality's sales tax by 1% does not change the behavior in terms of where people go to purchase items.
Well, I'm concerned like the car dealers and stuff because people are going to go to other cities.
Yeah, let me address that issue. It's a very important issue that she is raising with respect to car dealers. So the add-on sales tax is treated differently when it comes to purchase of vehicles or other or boats or things of that nature that requires registration. The measure that is used to determine where the tax applies is the point of delivery or point of registration. Let me explain what that means. So if, as an example, a Corona resident comes into Hamburg Ford to buy a vehicle, purchase a car at Hamburg Ford, that additional 1% sales tax, that Corona resident will not be paying that tax because of the point of delivery, point of registration on that vehicle. That is the items that are the only items that are treated differently that way. On the other hand, if a Norco resident goes to, say, the city of Ontario and buys a car, because that Norco resident lives here in the city of Norco, where that 1% add-on sales tax applies, that Norco resident will pay that 1% additional sales tax, and that money will come to the city of Norco. That's right. So, and that is why the projection is that the sales tax will generate about 4.5 million compared to the 6.5 million you saw on the chart that is currently received based on 2016-2017 fiscal year number that is generated from the regular 1% tax.
Okay, I'm just concerned because you're really not telling the whole story here on everything. You know, you're bringing up good points, but you're not telling the whole story. Like, tell the people how much Ingalls loses, for instance, every year. We already have those figures, so you might as well.
Well, again,
Also, please explain to them why no money has been going into the retirement benefit and that you lost a lawsuit to the state of California. Explain that to us, Andy. Those are the things that makes us not trust you.
Okay. The issue with the litigation, I would defer the issue pertaining to the litigation with the State Department of Finance. But as far as the claim that no money goes into the city's retirement, that's completely false. The way the pension system works is every year the California Public Employees Retirement System does an actuarial analysis that determines how much each system needs to contribute into the fund. And the city always has paid 100% of the annual required contribution to be made to that fund.
Andy, over here. Got a math problem, Andy,
Okay.
right here.
Okay.
I got a math problem for you. Maybe you can clear this up. You buy a cowboy hat for $100.
Yes,
You pay $7.75 in tax.
correct.
What the tax that we get is 1%, not of 100, but of 7.75, which would be 0.775 or rounded up 0.8.
No, let me clear that up.
That's what clarification.
Let me clear that up. And I know that is confusing. So you buy the $100 cowboy hat, and the sales tax that is collected from that is $7.75. The city of Norco gets $1 out of that $7.75. That is approximately 13%. Okay. But in terms of the sticker price of that item, the city gets $1, which represents 1% of the sticker price. So in terms of the amount of sales tax that is collected that comes back to the city of Norco, that is about 13%. So, yes.
Okay, and the tax, this is all about sales tax. I don't know if everybody knew that the state of California had impacted we had an extra 1% tax. It went away about 4 years ago. I own a store in Norco. Nobody even realized that they lost that 1%. It didn't affect them. When I said, you know, you're saving 1%? Oh, I am? Great. People don't realize that 1% isn't going to impact their purchases in Norco as far as small businesses go. I don't see anybody realize that it was gone. So I support it. I think we get a lot of people, 50% of my business comes from people out of the city. And if I don't have to pay the brunt of it myself living here, I'm more than happy to let other people pay that 1% as long as my city gets the entire amount. So I don't, it's not that big a deal.
I'll do that. You've already had your turn. I gotta go over here first.
Hi, sir. Thank you for talking to us, but I had one comment and really two brief questions. Was careful what you say might go away, because you talk about the horse trail maintenance, and I live on Corona where the curves are. Everybody knows where all the kids hit the trees and stuff. And our horse trail got signs on it that says, we no longer maintain this horse trail, it's unsafe, don't ride it. So thank you for that. We appreciate the horse trail maintenance there. We're worried about that going away. I got signs I can put out there. But the two questions I had, I haven't heard any discussion of, do you have a vehicle replacement fund, and what's the balance of that? And the other thing is, what's the city's transient occupancy tax, and how does that compare to surrounding cities?
Okay. Two questions. Do we have a vehicle replacement fund? Yes, we do. That fund is used to replace city vehicles when they come due. As you know, city vehicles are critical aspects of providing city services. So we cannot afford not to have some monies in that fund to replace those vehicles as they come due. I don't know what the exact balance is at this particular time, but I believe it's slightly under $3 million that is in that vehicle replacement fund, which is again to be used to replace.
And how many vehicles does the city own?
I don't know, but this includes, if you remember, we also own 2 fire engines, or previously before we contracted that out. But the city still contributes towards the replacement of those fire engines. So this is part of the money in that pool of money, as well as to fund all the various equipments that are used in public works to provide water and sewer services. I think you had another question. Transient occupancy tax. Yes, our current rate for transient occupancy tax is 11%. It used to be, I believe, 8%. Some time ago, I want to say about 8 years ago, that rate was increased by 3% to 11% to be consistent with what we saw among the surrounding cities in the area. And again, we do have 4 hotels here in the city. Those are not huge size hotels. They generate some monies for the city of Norco, and we are continuing to pursue bringing additional hotels here in the city of Norco to help improve our revenue picture. Unfortunately, just those 4 or additional limited size hotels in the city of Norco are not going to be sufficient to address the needs that we need to address.
Right here. I'm sorry.
She never answered the question. How much is Ingalls losing?
I had a question. I
sorry?
understand what this lady was saying about 1% not being that much, and I totally understand that. However, honestly, I just want to see if the people in here would raise their hand if at least for 6 months you would think about shopping out of town rather than doing it here to save that money. Raise your hand if you would. Well, I'm not talking big boxes. Okay, so I guess most people would spend the extra money here then.
Convenience.
Well, this is about the Citizens Oversight Committee. What teeth or what power do they have, or is it just whatever the city council wants to do?
The Citizens Oversight Committee has powers to allocate the funds that are generated from this and make that recommendation to the city council. Ultimately, the city council has the final say so. However, I have been with the city now for 15 years. I have yet to see situations where recommendations are made by a commission or oversight board that is appointed by the city council on matters such as this, that they haven't stayed within that.
And who makes up the city oversight committee?
I will be residents of the city of Norco.
Thank you for volunteering.
This is a hot seat. This is more of a perspective rather than a question, but I'm 18. I was born and was delivered and actually came to my house in Norco. I lived here my entire life. And I've seen the hills and valleys of where we've gone. And I do believe that the 1% would be a good addition. However, as many have said, it's not that much. People go outside of the city for buying things and that sort of thing. But, you know, a lot of those funds aren't going to our city. As we've seen, you know, I saw the pie chart. some odd $11 million going to school districts. I went to Norco High, and it's not exactly high tech there. And our police force, I mean, I think there's about maybe 2 units, rolling down the streets. And I think it's way more of not only a city issue, but a state issue. The state taking funds that should be going to Norco and going to the state for whatever purposes. I mean, the infrastructure of California is, I mean, in my words, collapsing. I mean, LA is ridiculous. You look at the roads and the freeways, we're kind of crumbling, and you need to ask where that money is going. And as a community and citizens of California, we need to ask those questions of where that money is going.
Thank you for being 18 and being interested. Where am I going?
Thank you for listening to me, Andy. In case some of you people here don't realize, today, of every dollar that you get in, 51% of what you make goes to taxes currently. 51%. So all government agencies, when they run out of money, they just go out and raise the taxes. So that's what this is just another effort to raise more taxes. You look at your city bill, there's $3.75 on it for the fire department. And we all agreed to go ahead and pay that. So where's that money going now? Why do we need more money for fire department? So I'm just saying that we on fixed income cannot afford to keep raising our taxes. And I'm just dead set against raising our taxes, that I think our revenue needs to come from growth. We have plenty of land in areas that can be developed, and the whole hillside where they're developing that industrial area, the up where the park is, that abandoned park, that regional park, miles and miles of land in there. Far away, there could be an industrial area, that wouldn't even affect our traffic at all. My final point is, and I don't mean this personal, Andy, but we are not San Francisco and we are not Los Angeles. I was amazed to just see that your salary is $312,000 a year. I mean, $150,000 a year would make you live very, very comfortable in Norco. So if there's more examples of that kind of wages in Norco, that's a tremendous waste. So that's all I got.
My question is Silver Lakes. It was my understanding as a citizen of Norco that Silver Lakes was going to create revenue for us, and that we invested so much, certain amount of money to Silver Lakes, or forced the developers to have that help us get revenue. We're talking. We thought that Silver Lakes would create revenue for us, and has it? And if it hasn't, what is our involvement with them, and what is the potential revenue? Someone says sell Ingalls to Silver Lakes. I don't even know what Silver Lakes does now for us. So why would I give up my horse facility to someone that plays soccer most of the time? And I'm all for that. I mean, I'm glad they're busy over there. But the bottom line is, are we benefiting from Silver Lakes at all?
Yes, we are. Let me say how we are doing that. If you remember, prior to Silver Lakes being developed, what we had there was a swamp land that the city was spending money to maintain. Since Silver Lakes is developed, they are currently paying to the city's general fund about $400,000 annually in rent for using that land. Secondly, the Silver Lakes this past year drew over 1 million people to the city of Norco. Those people coming to the city of Norco, outsiders, they are spending money here in the city of Norco and helping generate tax revenues that goes to fund city services. I think that from that perspective, the answer to your question is Civil X is generating revenues to the city of Norco.
I just wanted to address Andy's salary. It's benefits and salary. And also, he doesn't make that much money. If you look at Rubidoux Service District, or you look at Harupa Community Service District, Andy runs a city and water and sewer. Other cities don't do that. So you need to look comparatively, and you need to consider where would Norco be? Who else would do his job?
Hi. Well, that's loud. I recently assisted with an event at Silver Lakes, and the new restaurant there was very nice, except there's no elevator, there's no water upstairs, well, we were told we couldn't use it. So I had to carry flowers 18 times upstairs because we were told we couldn't, I was not handicapped and could not use the elevator. So, and then I watched car after car after car pay $15 to park there. Why don't we take $1 from each of those cars, and then Silver Lakes would be paying us like $4 million instead of $400,000. And it just seems to me that that would be a better way to raise funds than my extra penny on the sales. So.
I don't know about most of you. The last couple of years, I have attended most of the budget sessions that the City Council has had and workshops. I've really seen no more than just a handful of people in normal attendance. It's really a shame that it takes something like this to get people interested in how the city spends their money or makes their money. I do have a question for Andy, and the other day I'd been talking to a lot of people about whether it was a good idea or a bad idea for the tax, whether we should have a specialized tax or just a general purpose tax. There's been a lot of pros and cons on both issues of that. And I kind of wanted to have Andy tell us why the city might not do something like the state does and offer both opportunities on the ballot so that the citizens in Norco could decide whether they want a specialized tax or whether they want an individual general purpose tax. Again, knowing that it takes 2/3 vote to get that specialized tax though. But Mandy might have some response to that.
Yes, Bill. The answer to that question is that we can have those appear on the ballot as two separate measures. That's the only way that it would appear on the ballot. The risk that we run with that type of situation, even though voters do have a choice of voting for the two measures, specific or general. The most likely scenario is those individuals who are inclined to support a revenue measure will likely vote for one or the other. And if you have that situation, keeping in mind that we need 50% to pass a general revenue measure or 67% to pass a specific revenue measure, the likely outcome is both will fail.
Andy.
Yes.
One more question. I'd like to go back to the Citizens Oversight Committee. How large of a committee will that be? And specifically, how will the residents that form that committee be selected?
Those are decisions that will be made after the revenue measure passes. The number and who would actually participate on those would be, the city council would be required to adopt a resolution within 180 days after the election and to lay out the duties as well as the composition of that Citizens Oversight Committee.
Coming to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Andy. Now, I can see we have a lot more questions. I think we have one more comment, but you know, Andy's got his email address up here and his phone number. You have questions, he's sitting at his desk. He's going to be waiting for those to come in, and I encourage you to call him and get the direct answers. Go ahead, Kathy. One more.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I was involved with getting the federal patent of Horsetown, USA. And the reason we got that federal patent of Horsetown, USA is because we are the only city in this entire state that has a minimum lot size of a ½ acre. We are the only city in this entire state that has 130 miles of horse trails. Other cities put down sidewalks that last 100 years, and we maintain those trails, those 12-foot bridle paths throughout our town. We have more parks than any city in all of this whole Southern California area, including all of our pocket parks where we have all our arenas. There's no other city in the state that has that. We also have more horses in 14 square miles than any other city in the state of California. I am so, so proud and so honored to live in this town. I've lived here 50 years with my entire family. And I want you also to know that 70% of all cities in the state of California have some sort of a tax. I really encourage all of you, if you love the town the way I do and love having your horses in your backyard, no other city in this state can do what we've done to maintain this lifestyle. They've put in houses, apartments, houses on top of houses to get property tax. We make $1.5 million in property tax because we only have a little over 7,000 rooftops in this town. And God forbid that we have to have any other more rooftops. Let's keep Norco Horsetown, USA. Let's support these people that work so hard in our town to maintain this. Let's join the 70% of cities that care about their town.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy Acevedo, our former council person, just in case you don't know who this lovely lady is. I'd like to continue with our agenda. Deputy Michael Vasquez speaking to us about the homeless outreach team. Here he comes.
This is just my size. I was excited at first, but you guys are a spirited bunch, man. Well, the door's that way, right? Exit. She said, you ain't seen nothing yet. I got a little nervous from knee knocking over here. But my name is Mike. Thank you guys for having us out this evening. I'll say one thing to start off. I really am truly impressed. I do presentations throughout the county, and before being on the homeless outreach team, I did a lot of public relations for the department. But seeing you guys involved in your community, it's refreshing. I heard about your Horsetown moniker, and for you guys to have an identity, it's something that you can hold on to, and you should be proud of that. So thank you guys for partnering with us. Give yourselves a round of applause. But my role this evening, and I'll keep it brief, is to kind of keep you guys abreast with what's going on with the homeless outreach within our county, in large part, but then specifically about your community. It's something that we can't ignore. It happens all over the world, and it's right at your doorsteps, right? Yeah. We've seen the impact of the economy. We've seen the impact of mental health, and we've seen the impact of substance abuse, and that's the truth of it. We've also seen the impact of people who are just down on their luck as well. But I want to let you guys know, and we're being very public about our efforts within your community, because the sheriff's office is committed to finding solutions. And I know some people in here might say it's impossible to stop homelessness. And in fact, it might be. But there's always those cases and those people that we can turn around and say we did our part as a community to impact them and offer what we could. And also, there are those who needed to be arrested, and we also did our part to clean up our community and do what we could. So let me just give you a brief overview of who I am and what I do. Again, my name is Mike Vasquez. I work on the countywide homeless outreach team. What does that mean? What do you do, Mike? From day to day, I partner with our local offices, our sheriff's offices and departments to find out what the need is in their community. And through a collaborative effort through the county, we work at finding solutions to get people rehabilitated, back on track, and or conduct enforcement. So specifically, recently, Lieutenant Riddick has been super forthcoming. How many of you guys use Facebook? Anybody? Some of you? A lot of you guys. If you don't, you're more than welcome to contact the sheriff's office to find out our efforts, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. Recently, we've had reports from citizens about the river bottom, right? Everybody's nodding their head, yes. People are out there enjoying their horses, taking walks, riding their bikes, and they're noticing kind of an uprising and seeing homeless encampments and people in our community, right? And so we've taken your comments and concerns and we've made a concerted effort to be out there on your behalf. What does that mean? Our special enforcement team deputies, along with the sergeant and backed up by me on the back end, went into the river bottom and sought out those people, identified who they are, their specific needs, and began outreach work with them. So what does that mean for you guys? You still may see them out there, Mike. I'm still seeing people in my community. Doesn't look like it's getting cleaned up fast enough. It's a process. And we want to share with you guys how that process is going to go and move forward from here. In this process, as we identify the needs of each individual, we begin to address those needs specifically tailored to that person. Some need housing, some need substance abuse assistance, some need mental health assistance. And what my job is to bring those resources to those people. Oftentimes you'll find out, give me just a minute, I'll give you a chance. Oftentimes you find out that a lot of people aren't willing to do that, and that's when enforcement comes into play. So what am I doing as a county employee outside of the city of Norco? I have contacts with behavioral health, the housing authority, and people like that who I am willing to bring out and bringing out to the community itself. For those people that aren't willing to come with me, take a hand up and go so we can bring the resources into you guys. Recently, if you haven't seen, we actually had a success story which we wanted to highlight with you guys about an individual named Daniel Leonard who was a homeless man in your community. Daniel has been homeless for over 6 years. He had a stroke. He had a service dog named Jasmine just at the taco shop down the road here and lived there for some time. And through the efforts of the community and you guys' support, he was able to survive for that time. But we finally got him to a place where he is in permanent housing. And he's with his dog, and we've got him all the resources that he needs. He has his medical care, his service dog with him, and all those backup wraparound services that he needs on a long-term basis. So I want to commend you guys as a community for coming alongside, helping the ones that want the help and putting them in a place where they can thrive and flourish. So thank you guys for your support with that. Let me just wrap up with just a few things before we get into the questions and comments. I want to make mention to you guys that there are a lot of resources. You know, as a community, we want to bring alongside not only the citizens, but nonprofit partners and faith-based organizations. And I'll be more than happy to reach out to you guys and share those links and how to get involved if you're looking to do that. We want to discourage sometimes people find it sometimes a necessity to take it upon themselves and start feeding in different places or going into the river bottom and doing the good deed. We want to make sure that you guys are safe as citizens and that you're also doing that effort to partner with us and those professionals that are willing to take those risks and go out there to do that outreach. So we want to make sure and ensure that you guys are also well educated as well. If you have a need or interest in that, you can always stop by the sheriff's office and inquire about it. We can schedule appointments, sit down with you guys, educate you guys on how you can get further involved in doing that as a community as well. But we can start taking some comments and we'll try to be brief.
My question is, I think it's great that you're helping those that want to be helped, but the majority of them don't want the help. They don't want to go in homes because they can't take the drugs or drink. What are we doing with those people?
Right. So as the process continues and we identify those individuals that don't want help, enforcement is taking place. There's a lot of restrictions when it comes to enforcement. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. If I arrest somebody for possession of some drug that was usually normally in the past something that they would go to prison for or have a long-term entry into our system, it's no longer the case. So we're working within the confines of the law and what we can do, but we are committed to enforcement as well. We want you guys to know that your local special enforcement team, those guys are on the ground, boots on the ground every single day, walking through those places, contacting those people, and the ones that they do find that need help, we are assisting them, and the ones that are truthfully stubborn, we're committed to enforcement as well. So, I mean, if there's needs or areas or places that you're finding that there's a nuisance, we want you guys to reach out to us as well. If it's not a life-threatening thing, contact the local office at the non-emergency number. Don't take it upon yourself to confront those individuals, but you can always use an anonymous tip line as well to let us know of things that are happening in the community.
I think Norco takes care of their own, and we're proud that we do that. However, all these handouts, I think we're getting more and more folks into the community, into the riverbeds, along Stater Brothers. I'm asking City Council to really look at the littering laws, the loitering laws, and make sure that our laws are up to date, that they're tough, and then we're going to ask you that you enforce it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, and that's something that we're committed to as well. And you have to understand our position in terms of law. I think that holds a lot of precedent when it comes to our position is we're going to do what the law dictates. And so we don't want to create a new precedent. We're going to follow the standards that have been set before us. But we are committed to enforcing you guys' laws. You got to know that we're out there day to day contacting people and finding those solutions, whether they be long-term housing, rehabilitation, or sometimes enforcement.
Now, Brown's not helping you, is he?
Tony, we're going to give the microphone to this woman right here. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your help, by the way, in this situation. But I had a gentleman walk straight into my house, right into my living room on a Sunday evening, like at 7 o'clock. We call the police department. And of course, they show up like 10 or 15 minutes later, and he's down the road and gone. So what's the recourse or protection for us in our homes?
Let's talk after. And the truth of it is this: you have the right to defend your life and property. Okay. However you do that that's up to you guys. But let's just say this: our first priority is safety. And so there's also education. We'd love to talk to you after and give you some tips on how you can do those preventative measures on doing that. Again, we don't know when those things are going to happen, but we want you guys to be prepared as citizens as well. So, best descriptions, be a reporting person, find those best descriptions that you can provide to the 911 operator to best help us. But yes, lock your doors. And again, that's tongue in cheek, but I would love to talk to you after for a few minutes and we can discuss it further.
From the ears.
I've basically got two things to ask. The first one is, as you're reaching out to these people and you're discovering, because there is a mix between the mental health, the addiction, those that are down on luck, are you gathering any kind of statistics to figure out which group you're able to be most successful for so that you can target that and not just do a shotgun approach? And then the second thing is, are you going to learn from what happened in Orange County so that doesn't happen here?
Yeah, so definitely. And I'll speak to your second question first. Our approach is not take millions of dollars and put them into hotels. I'll tell you that truthfully. Our approach is to find the individual need of each person. I think that segues into your second part of it. So we as a county have definitely looked at those lessons learned. And I work on the front line of that portion of it. So as your set deputies reach out to me, your special enforcement team deputies reach out to me from each station and city, we are the ones that are putting them in contact with the right people and the right county entities and the right individuals. Remember, I don't just work with our county partners. I work with nonprofit people, with our faith-based community that are taking those special needs into account and addressing them as individuals instead of, I know the shotgun approach sounds like we went into the river bottom, we just found a bunch of people and we're just trying to put them in housing. That's not necessarily the case. So as we work with them on an individual basis, we're gonna find those ones that are willing to accept help and we're gonna find the ones that need to be arrested. And so, in the mix of all that, we are taking statistics. I'm not gonna say that I documented this guy was behavioral health, this guy was, alcoholism, but I am taking into account who I am diverting them to. Because me as an individual, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a psychologist, but if I walk up to somebody and they're speaking to somebody that's not there, I kind of gather what's going on, right? You walk up to somebody out in the back here and they're drinking water, talking to themselves, you're like, I'm not gonna go back and talk to that person. So yes, in part, we're not taking full stats in terms of like what we're gonna provide to the public. Hey, we contacted 7 who needed mental health, but we are taking statistics in terms of how many we're diverting to what people. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just don't think that it can. I think that we can be more productive because the epidemic that we're faced with right now. And just so everybody knows, I've got a son going through this, so it's not as easy. It's not as cold as what we all want to be. It is a horrible problem, and trying to find out how we can be most effective is critical. And that's going to take some time.
Yeah, and so you guys know when we do these efforts and go into these encampments, I am taking clinicians. I worked with behavioral health the other day. I went out to an encampment, found somebody that was obviously working with some behavioral health issues and mental issues, and I was not qualified to work with that person other than the contact. So I went back, got somebody who was, and then we made the direct connection with them. So.
My question is, what can you lawfully do about people who stand at the freeway off-ramps begging for money with signs? We all see that all the time. I have seen people with their children on the freeway off-ramps inhaling all that exhaust from those cars. It's an unsafe, unhealthy atmosphere. And I don't know if lawfully you can deter them or stop them from doing that, but it's just a really bad situation. And when people give money, they're just encouraging people to do that more and more. And I know it's hard. People have good hearts. They want to reach out and help people who are having problems. But a lot of these people, they're not homeless. It's just scams.
Sure.
And they're making hundreds of dollars a day. We were at Costco. We saw a young man bring an old gentleman, set him down in a wheelchair, cover him up, give him a sign, and he walked away and went and had some coffee. It started to rain. He came out, put a poncho on the guy, and they just kept, getting money. And I called the sheriff's department. I complained about it, and I said, if this is how he's treated in public,
Sure.
How is he treated at home? And I was worried about adult abuse.
Yeah, so I don't know the outcome of that specific instance, but I can speak to the overall problem. Our encouraging words are to look towards the nonprofit partners, faith-based communities, and those entities that are actually providing real support in terms of long-term solutions. So just so you guys know, when somebody goes into like a mission, they're just not getting a shower and food. The mindset has changed more so where they're offering job skills, they're offering job placement. Those are things that we're looking to do. We don't want to continue to give the handout. We're looking to provide long-term solutions in terms of providing those job skills. Okay, we've taught you how to type and use all these programs. Now here's the job placement that we can offer after an internship. Excuse me. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is this. We are committed to enforcement as well, and so there are county ordinances that we can enforce when it comes to panhandling, and so we just need to be made aware of those. And sometimes you'll understand that we can't be everywhere all the time. So we need you guys' collaborative effort support to help us be our eyes and ears when we're not available to do that. So, yes, ma'am, or sir.
Hi. Well, you touched on something that I kind of wanted to comment about. I know you can't be everywhere at the same time, but how often are you actually doing any enforcement down in the river? Or I know that maybe the rest of the department might be doing some patrols, but how much pressure are you really putting on the homeless to either move on or get them some help? Or how often is this actually happening?
Well, I can tell you it's weekly. I can't say that it's daily. And I don't specifically work in Norco every single day, but I know there's committed time. I've been in the meetings, I've been with Andy, I've been with the lieutenant, I've been with our own staff that are boots on the ground, and I coordinate with them weekly. So I know they're out there doing the job weekly. I can't speak to the amount of time.
Well, the reason because I really don't see a lot of, for you know, lack of better words, action. You know, I see a lot of people loitering in front of the stores and all that. I've never seen any kind of law enforcement go up to them and at least ask them questions or kind of move them along. Because if you keep them moving, you know, they won't stop there and stay there all the time. But
Sure.
It seems like I see the same guy in front of the same store every day. You know, and if you keep them moving, they might not stay around.
I appreciate that comment, definitely, and we take into account all of you guys' comments as well. I'll take one more question. I appreciate it.
I think we all need to be aware that these stores where these people are hanging out, if they buy something at that store, the store manager can't do anything about them sitting outside. The owner of the property has to make the complaint, and then the police can follow up. But you can't blame the store owners. You just stop going to the store until something's done.
Well, I appreciate you guys tonight. Thank you. If you have any other questions, we're always willing to stick around. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Deputy Vasquez. I would like to make 3 introductions. Karen Spiegel, Mayor of Corona, is with us tonight. Thank you very much. We also have from Assemblywoman Cervantes' office, David Santillan. And from Senator Ross' office, Alfie Holcomb. We've already, we've sort of gone off the format on the agenda. We've already had more than 20 minutes of questions and answers. It's almost 8:30. We're going to kind of wrap it up. Please have some more refreshments and cookies. And anyone who wants to ask more questions, people will be standing around and will be glad to talk to you. And we want to thank all the queens for coming in tonight also. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Don't forget the next town hall is in October. City Council this next coming Wednesday. Start attending in person. Thank you all for coming. Good night.
I don't know, but I'll take it. I don't know whose they are, but I'll get it. I can do that.
Hey, did you get your word out there?